This is my favorite part. It's where you become awesome at Cisco. By the time we're done here, we will ensure all Cisco production network devices have a proper base configuration at each location. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, that's a pretty lofty claim that by the time I'm done, I'm going to be awesome at Cisco. Here's what I mean. First off, your life is going to be a journey of learning. And the more that you learn and the more you discover that love of learning, and I can only pray that each one of you would get that to where it's just like, oh, like every morning becomes just bright and sunny because there's something new to learn. Anyway, I'm off on a soapbox right there. But there's a point in every person's journey into a new technology where they're like, okay, I don't understand all of that, but I just got that. And then that. And then, okay, it's coming together. And that's what I really want to happen in this lab right now. I'm going to take you over into the production network. But before I do, I want to emphasize that this is your time. This is your time to do what I'm saying. Now, I hope that you have some physical lab equipment that you can go and do this on. But even if you don't, even if you're in Viral or one of the other emulators that are out there, that's fine. Just do it. Don't just watch it. Pause. Seriously, once you see the objectives that I'm going to show you, I want you to pause and do it. And you're going to get stuck. And that's okay. And watch it and then go back and do it again and do it again and do it again until the point you're just like, I got this. I can literally go through Let me show you the list. As you know, we are building a network with 3 locations, Arizona, Nevada, and Florida. And if we zone in on each network individually, in previous videos, we went through and discovered all the interfaces, physically connected everything up, figured out that we had the wrong interfaces, relabeled the interfaces, and now it's time to do the base configuration for each one of them. Now, in this skill, I have shown you kind of each piece individually, like, oh, here's a concept, here's a concept. This is where you glue it all together. Take a look at the objectives. Deploy a base configuration for all devices, including the host name, logon banner, synchronous login, console passwords, telephone passwords, IP addressing. By the way, we're just going to use 192.168.1 for now, and let's just add some IP addresses here. This will be .1. We'll make this guy .2, .3, and .4. We don't have wireless access points plugged into the network. That'll come later on. These will be the IP addresses that we assign. So 192.168.1.1, 1.2. Does that make sense, right? So each one. So we'll just get those set up so we're able to test and make sure all of this is working. Activate all those interfaces. Make sure we don't have the messages hang. You remember when we showed where if you mistype a command, it thinks you're telnetting to it and it'll start broadcasting DNS. We don't want that to happen. So we're going to disable the domain lookups, enable the service password encryption service to make sure if somebody does a show run and they're looking over our shoulder, they're not like, I see all your passwords and immediately commit them to memory. At least scramble them. It may be weak, type 7 encryption, but it's better than nothing. Then we're going to go through and save the configuration on each device. And hang on, not just here, but here. And by the way, we'll use .1 and .2 there. And here, .1, .2 here. Now, I know you might be thinking, and by the way, you can see I've changed the IP addressing a little bit around for Nevada and Florida. You might be thinking, are you saying I'm going to do pretty much the same thing on, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5, 7 devices or so? Yeah. Isn't it awesome? Like, that's going to be it. That's going to be where by the time you're on device number 7, you're going to be like, I got this. I'm kicking the training wheels off. I'm going to town and I can deploy. I'm awesome at Cisco. So if you're watching, obviously you can see I'm about to explode because I'm just like, I'm ready to dive into this, but I want you to pause right now and do this before I get there. So if you get stuck, watch me. I'm going to show you some shortcuts. I'm going to show you how to automate a little bit this process to make it faster, but I don't want you to do that until you're awesome at doing the 7 devices manually. So much to say. So pause now. Do these things that you see on the screen right before you. Do them for every device that you know how. Now, I am going to get into IP addressing for the switches. I'm looking at my switches right now. It's going to be something a little different than the router that I showed you. If you haven't seen it before, again, watch it, check it out. I'll show you how to do it. Then do it again and again and again. You get the theme, right? Let me jump over there. Now, I hope you're bringing one of these with you. This is your console connection because our devices need a base configuration. They don't have IP addresses yet, so be sure to get that set up. So I'm going to start off connecting up to AZRT01. That would be this guy right here. So I'm going to remember these three things off the top of my head. Hostname, logon banner, synchronous logging. I'm into the terminal, press the enter key a couple times. Did I name this guy Bob? I've first... It's been a day, I suppose. So I'm going to go into privilege mode. And by the way, I am going crazy fast through this stuff because I'm assuming you've already seen how to do the skill. And if you're like, what is he doing? Then you would go back to that and you would learn that. So I'm going to do this just like I was doing a lab, like I was assigned an exercise in a production network or on an exam or something. That's how I'm going to approach this, right? So here we go. I'm in Bob. I'm going to type in host name. Name was AZ-RTO1. Saw that on the diagram. I also have it on a nice little sticker right there on there. Hit the enter key and bam, takes effect. I'm going to, shortcut. Remember I said that you have to be in the right mode for things to work. Like you have user mode, privilege mode. Well, show commands don't work from global configuration mode unless you use a special key shortcut. Watch this. So right now, I'm just going to show it. I'm going to do a show IP interface brief, and it's going to fail because it's like, that's a show command. You can't do that from here. I hit the up arrow. I shoot back to the beginning of the line, and I squeeze in do. You remember why that Control A is so handy to just whoop right back to the beginning? Do show IP interface brief. Do will do any privilege mode command from any mode that you're in. Very handy shortcut. I type that in and it says, here's your IP address. Now, it looks like this was from a previous video where I was just setting things up. And I remember that we were planning to do 192.168.1.0 for these Arizona routers. Mention that right here. I had them written. This will be .1, .2, .3, and .4 in this exercise. So this is the first, interface GI 0/0. And again, I'm using shortcuts like crazy through this thing. I'm not even using the tab key because it will take it. That's fine. And I'll type in IP address 192.168.1.1. Question mark says, here's your subnet mask. Okay, 255.255.255.0. Enter. IP address in place. Let's hit the up arrow and do that do show IP interface brief command again. Looks good. IP address is assigned. Host name is assigned. Let's figure out what our standard logon banner is. Let's exit out of this. Do a banner MOTD. It didn't really say in the exercise what it was supposed to be. So I'm going to say number 2, that logon banner right there gives me liberty to be creative. I'll use the delimiting character of a %sign. Asterisk across the way. You have entered the forbidden realm. Those unauthorized will meet a bitter end. If only you could have some kind of sound in there. Hit the enter key a couple times. %sign, bam, logon banner in place. Objective number 3, synchronous logging. That would be line console 0, logging synchronous. That will keep the status messages from interrupting what I'm typing as I'm going, and really on the console port is where it's most painful, so I'll just apply it there. Exit out. Check, check, check. Next up, let's do the passwords. Check. I kind of jumped to number 6 just because I think I did. I was just thinking about it and it just happened. So IP address, this is all for router 1. So let's do the passwords. Let's activate the interface, and that should be it. All right, we'll go line console 0. We were just there, and we'll do password Cisco. And remember, on the console port, it doesn't require logins by default, so we're going to make sure that it will require logins because just assigning a password won't work. So I'll type in login. It says, okay, good, password Cisco. We'll exit out of there, back to global, line VTY 0 space 4, configuring 5 Telnet ports at the same time. Login is default in there. Now, by the way, watch this. If I say no login and then hit the up arrow and then do login, nothing happens. I thought something would happen there, but it didn't. Usually, it will say password required but none set, or logins disabled on this port until you set a password because you're requiring a password. Oh, that's right. Hang on, watch this. I'm going to do a show run, and watch this. Oh, I'm going to give you so many shortcuts. Begin with VTY, right? That'll instead of giving me the whole running output. The reason it didn't give me the message I thought it was because I already had the password set. Again, we're on the router that I had previously configured when we were doing the setup. So some of the config's already in there, and I'm just kind of overwriting it as I'm going. That's okay. But now I feel like, you know, it's kind of like when you invite a friend over and you're like, hey, check this out. And it's like, oh, that didn't happen. You're like, well, no, wait. And the friend's like, no, that's okay. You're like, no, I'm going to show it to you. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to type in no password to remove it. Then I'm going to type in no login. And then I'm going to type in login. And now, okay, oh, look, hey, friend. Now look, that's the message I thought it would do, because now it's saying logins are required, but there's no password set. But I'm going to set that. I'm going to do password Cisco. Bam, it's in place. And you know what I just realized? I didn't add, we're going to do bonus objective 5.5. And if you did this without looking, you would probably remember this because you're so smart. Protect, I'll just put protect the privilege mode with a password. We had our console password, we have the Telnet passwords, we even have service password encryption, but we never protected the enable mode, the privilege mode, that transition. That's pretty dangerous. So let's do that right now. Exit out of here, enable secret Cisco. Bam. Now our privilege mode is protected. Good. Check. And now let's do the rest of these. Let's activate the interfaces. Make sure domain lookups are disabled, encrypt all the unencrypted passwords, and save our configuration. First off, activating interfaces. I'll do a show IP interface brief again. As of right now, we've got gig 0/0 with the status of up, line protocol is up. That one actually is activated again from previously. I'm going to go into that interface just for grins and do a no shutdown because that's the command we would type in. Now, gigabit Ethernet 0/1 will be our internet connection. I'm not going to activate that one yet because we haven't talked about the ramifications of enabling the internet connection. I'm going to go right on to disabling the domain lookups. That's going to be no IP domain dash lookup. You remember that allows us to go here and type in whatever we want, and it'll just say, oh, I can't get there. Otherwise, it would just, without this command, it would sit there broadcasting trying to resolve that name. Not going to get that. Go back into global config mode, encrypt all of the unencrypted passwords. That's service password encryption. Wow, is this coming at you fast? Feels like it. Hopefully that's good and you're following along. Got the interfaces active, no domain lookups, password encryption. Last piece is to save the configuration. Now, you might remember there's at least two ways of saving your config. This is a privilege mode command. The fast, not exactly modern command, but the one everybody uses because it's the fastest way to save your configuration, is to go in and type in WR. Bam, immediately copies the running config to startup config. Or if you want to type it, you can do exactly that. Copy running config, startup config. You keep the file name startup config. Never, ever type in a different name right here for the startup config. It just goofs things up. So I'll hit enter. Same thing, configuration saved. Now that was configuring an already configured router, which was this guy right here, AZRT01, with the ideal base configuration. Now let's jump down. Let's do this switch right here. This is going to be AZ switch 1, SW01. Move my console cable around. Snap. It's in place. Enter key a couple times and absolutely nothing is happening. I covered the lights with my my sticker. It's unplugged. Curses. All right, it's plugged in. Let's watch it boot. iOS loading. It's going through its initializing. Hey, while this is happening, let me jump back here real quick. I'm going to erase all this stuff off because we just did that for our first device. Meep. And I'm also going to check off router 1. That configuration is good. I'm now going to do switch 1, and we're going to go a little faster until we get to the part mainly right here that's going to be specific to switching. Looks like we're booted. I'll hit the enter key a couple times. We have the host name from when we did the host name exercise earlier. That's fine. So I'll go in here. And this is where I get to show you how to make your configuration process a little bit faster. Now, disclaimer. If this is your first time going through this, don't do what I'm about to show you because I want you to manually configure every single one of the devices. That's how you build that deep learning, that deep muscle memory. But this is for once you've got that down, you can start automating your configs to do your labs a lot faster. Watch this. First things first, I'm going to move my console cable back into the router because I want to first off create a backup of the configuration. Let's jump over here. Enter key a couple times. We're getting our logon banner. That's great. Enable mode protection. That's great. I'm going to do a show running config. And you may have remembered, or you may remember, that earlier in this skill, I explained that the running config is literally all of the commands that you typed when you configured the router. And I'll add to that, and then some. That is, there's some default commands that come with Cisco when you first configure the iOS. It just puts it in there, and I'll show you that in just a second, because I'm going to take you to an ultra sophisticated application. It goes by the name of Notepad. The Notepad is your friend when you're in the Cisco world. I'm going to paste that configuration in there. Now, with Putty, anytime you highlight a whole bunch of stuff, it automatically copies it to the clipboard. So there's an exact copy. Now, when we're ready to automate the configuration, what we want to do is go through that config and wipe out anything that we didn't type in. Watch this. I'm going to go in here. All that stuff, junk. Boot marker, blah, 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 junk. No AAA, blah, 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 junk. Right? The exclamation points, you can leave those in. Those are just like comments. I didn't put that in there. I didn't put that. None of this. The username was one that I put in an earlier nugget. I didn't do it as part of this. So I'll just take all that, delete. Interfaces, we didn't really do any configuration under all those. Gone, 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 gone. Scroll down. Oh, right about there. Delete. See, I'm just shrinking this thing down. This is the IP address. I'm going to delete that out because we're about to make this configuration very generic. Console port, VTY, that's all good. I didn't put that in there. Delete. Didn't put that in there. Delete, and might as well delete all that too. Good. So this is the base configuration that I created when I went through and configured that first router. Now, we can take that and make it a template for the upcoming devices. So we know that switch 1 is next, right? So I'm going to just change the host name to SW01. There's our enable secret, no IP domain lookup. There's our logging synchronous, line console 0. Oh, sometimes, and this is just a thing, it's how Cisco does their configs. When they store the banner MOTD in the running configuration, they do a control C, and that's literally like a control character C. But when we paste that in, it just doesn't work right. So I'm going to take that off and just make it a caret, right? Banner MOTD caret will be my symbol, so it'll end with a caret. Okay, I've got my template config ready. Copy all that to my clipboard, Control C, take my console cable out of the router and move it around to the switch. I'm getting pretty fast at that. Good. Back over here, hit the enter key. I'm in switch 1. I'm going to move to global configuration mode, enter, and paste. Ooh, look at that. Awesome. It pasted the exact configuration into this thing. Host name, no IP domain lookup. There's my banner MOTD. It looks like, aux port. Cisco switches do not have aux port. Remember, those are for the modems, and those only go on the router. So we can actually go in our template configuration because we'll use it for the other devices. And where is it? Right there. Get that guy out of there. Don't need him. So looking back at our list of stuff, this, not that. This, and not that. All of that was just done automatically using, using my copy and paste configuration that I've now got in a template. And you'll see this all the time. When you've got a ton of devices to configure and you're doing network deployments, you will often automate your configuration by putting the base config and then some into a template that you're just like paste. Then you just go back and configure the unique stuff. So back on switch number 1, let's configure the unique things, which is the IP address. That's this guy right here, activating the interface, and then save our configuration. And this will be where a little learning takes place. I'm going to exit back out to privilege mode and do a show IP interface brief. Works on switches as well. And look at this. We've got all of these interfaces. Fast Ethernet 2/0/1, 2, all the way down. But did you notice the one at the very top? Did you miss it? Let's go back up. That guy right there. VLAN 1. Now, VLANs are a topic that are huge. There's going to be multiple skills dedicated to VLANs where I talk about how you create these, call them like bubbles, if you will, on the switch, where you take one switch and make it multiple switches all at once. That's the idea of a VLAN. We're not going to get into VLANs in that depth here because, believe it or not, we're doing VLANs when we pull a Cisco switch out of the box, whether we like it or not. Look at this. If I go on my switch and type in show VLAN, you can see that I have VLAN number 1 right there. It's known as the default VLAN, and all the ports are in it. That's why my switch just works out of the box. I don't have to configure it. It's just everything's in that VLAN, that virtual LAN, right? Everything's in there, and it's just working normally. It's when I take things out of that default VLAN and put it into another one, that's where we make configuration changes and could cause problems if we're not sure what we're doing. The reason that knowing VLANs at a really high level is needed right now is we have to give our switch an IP address. And this is where a lot of confusion comes in. People go, why does a switch need an IP address? I thought it just learned MAC addresses. It does. It does. The only reason it needs an IP address is because when I get to the administration of this device, I don't want to use this console cable. I want to be able to manage that switch remotely using Telnet or SSH, getting in and configuring it from a different place. And to do that, I need to give it an IP address. That's why we give an IP address to VLAN 1. So I'm going to explain it as I go here. I'm going to go into global configuration mode on this switch. Interface VLAN 1. Now freeze. Does that interface exist? No. It doesn't. It's a virtual interface. It's imaginary. It's make-believe. But every port that's in VLAN 1 has access to it. And look at this. These ports are all in VLAN 1. So they all have access to that VLAN 1 interface. And so I can go in there and type in no shutdown, turn it on. You can type these commands in whatever order. And then type in IP address. And let's look back at our network diagram. 192.168.1.2 right there. 192.168.1.2 subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Enter. I now have my switch with an IP address assigned. Let's do a show IP interface brief. And I should see that first VLAN interface right there. Yep. Status up, protocol up, 192.168.1.2. Excellent. And I should, if all is well, be able to ping 192.168.1.1. Make sure I have connectivity from this switch to this router. So I press the enter key and that's not looking very good. Not looking good at all. We're trying to ping the router 192.168.1.1. Anytime you see these dots, that's fail, fail, fail. I'm getting fail. It should show exclamation points. It says success rate is 0%, 0 of 5. We are not connected. And that is because, hang on, let's look. Oh, hang on. Hang on. I'm saying that a lot. Look at this right here. Gigabit 0/0 and 0/1. This goes to the internet. This goes to the Metro E Cloud. It's these guys right here that connect to the internal network. But wait a sec. Let's move this console cable back to the router. Press the enter key a couple times. Oh, got my log on banner now. Show IP interface brief. Oh, look at this. Look what I did. In all my excitement, I was like, let's get an IP address on there. I just gave the IP address 192.168.1.1 to the gigabit Ethernet 0/0 interface, which is this one right here connected to the internet. You can't do that. Remember, a router divides up the different interface into almost like different rooms. They don't communicate. So essentially, I gave the IP address that these guys should be in, that 192.168.1.0, to the internet connection. That's total fail. So this is where it's going to get a little fun. It's these interfaces right here, Fast Ethernet 0/0/0 and 0/0/1, that connect down to these core switches, just like it shows in the diagram right here. Now, here's the interesting thing about this module. It is a switch. These are, that's what, if you look at the, I don't know if you can read it. Let's see if I can get it close enough there. It says HWIC 4ESW. That stands for 4 Ethernet switch ports. So It allows you to put a switch in your router. So we just talked about switches, right? What gives them an IP address? What interface do I modify to give it an IP address? The VLAN interface, right? So does that mean, hang on, we got our console cable. Does that mean if we look at our router that we also have a VLAN interface? We do. Interesting. But it's down right now. Well, why would it be down? Maybe it's because all the interfaces that power that VLAN interface are shut down. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Let's try this. I'm going to go into global configuration mode, interface fast Ethernet 0/0/0. That's this one right here. I'm going to type in no shutdown. Power that guy on. Exit back out, and we'll hit the up arrow, fast Ethernet 0/0/1. That's this guy right here. And no shutdown. Power that guy on. Now, since this is a built-in switch right here, you don't actually give the individual interfaces the IP address. It's just like these switches. You give the VLAN interface the IP address, and that's what all of these will communicate with. If I were drawing that on a network diagram, man, I'm getting kind of tight here. If I were drawing that on a network diagram, yeah, I'll just write this. It would show VLAN 1 would be the .1 IP address, and both of these would feed into that VLAN 1. And look what just happened. We got the status message that now that those two other interfaces are up, the physical interfaces are up, VLAN 1 just came up. I don't believe it. Show IP interface brief. All right, VLAN 1 is looking like it's up. So now here's the question. How do we move the IP address that we assigned accidentally, to gigabit Ethernet 0/0? How do we move that down to VLAN 1? Well, watch this. If I were to just go in and go to interface VLAN 1 and say, well, let's give this guy the IP address 192.168.1.1, 255.255.255.0. It's like, sorry, you can't do that. It's overlapping with this guy. Sorry, that's got to be a removal. So we need to go into interface GI 0/0 and remove that IP address. How do you think we do that? How about no? Remember the no command negates anything? Watch this. I'll do no IP address 192.168.1.1. Hit the enter key. Oh, it's incomplete. Well, interestingly enough, watch this. I can either go no IP address and just hit enter, or I could have typed in the full command 255.255.0 and hit enter. And well, now I've removed it, but either one of those would have removed the IP address from there. And a matter of fact, I'm not configuring the internet connection yet. No. I can shut that down. Now, let's do a show IP interface brief. You following here? Gigabit Ethernet 0/0. Now it's unassigned and it's shut down. Now I go to the VLAN 1 interface, the interface that's fed by these. Now, don't accidentally go into this interface and assign. Matter of fact, here, watch what happens if I do that. Fast Ethernet 0/0/0, and I say IP address 192.168.1.1, enter. It's like, whoa, no, sorry. That's a layer 2 link. The OSI model comes back to us again. That's awesome. That's a layer 2 link. You can't do that. That's not a layer 3 link. But if we go to interface VLAN 1, hit the up arrow and try that, bam, we are there. Show IP interface brief. Now we've got the IP address in the right place. And now I should be able to ping 192.168.1.2. which is pinging from this router to this switch, the .2 IP address that we assigned. Hit the enter key, and woohoo! I got kind of nervous right there. 2 fails and then success. And watch this. If I hit the up arrow and try it again, success every single time. Why did it fail at first? Well, because it goes through a process known as ARP. It has to figure out what the MAC address is for 192.168.1.2. So it's sending out a message saying, who are you? And during that time, it's like, oh, I'm timing out. I'm not getting there. But once we get that, once we get the MAC address, which, by the way, I'll type in show ARP so you can see that. It's learned the MAC address of switch number 2 right there. Once it gets that, now it can ping away all day long. Success, success, success. So now what I'm going to do is go into hyperspeed mode. That is, I'm going to take the configuration we just created for the switch one and use it as a template now for the remaining switches in Arizona. I'm going to put it on hyperspeed, put it to music so you can just see it fly by. Obviously, you can slow down the playback if you want to, or just pause at any point to see what I'm doing. That will get the rest of the Arizona office configured. All right, I'm bringing it back right here. I've got the two other switches configured, switch 2 and switch 3. You can see that now I'm on switch 3, which is that access switch. This guy right here. And I was able to ping here, here, and here. All of them responded correctly. Now, I'm going to make sure that I can remotely access these devices. So I'm sitting right here on switch number 3 on the console port, and I'm going to telnet from here. So I'm going to put TTT. I'm going to try telnetting to each one of these devices, make sure that I can log in, because it's no fun to have your template configuration and then just find out that it all blew up. Make sure that I can log into those switches. Then I'm going to save the configuration on each one and declare the Arizona office done. Back to the prompt, I'll type in telnet 192.168.1.1. That's the router. Look at that. Open. I'm in. Awesome. Save configuration. Good. I'm going to give you a little shortcut. It's a tricky one. We'll come back to it later when we talk about navigating them. How do you suspend and go back to Telnet sessions? Watch this. This one's so weird, I have to show it to you by showing you my keyboard, and you can see the prompt right up there, right? I'm going to hit Control-Shift-6 on my keyboard, let go, and then hit X. No, I must have gone too slow. Control-Shift-6-X. And what happened, I don't know if you saw it from a distance, what happened is it said RTO1 is now suspended and you're back over to switch number 3. If I wanted to resume that Telnet session, I just press enter on a blank line and I'm back over to RTO1. Weird, huh? Watch this. I'll do it again. Slow motion, wrong camera. There we go. Slow motion, Control-Shift-6-X. I'm back over to switch 3. I can do whatever I want on switch number 3. When I'm done, I just press enter, and I'm back over to RTO1. Okay, cool. Let's try it one more time. Control-Shift-6-X. I'm back over to switch 3, and let's now telnet to 192.168.1.2. Bam. I'm in. Switch number 1. I'm in. So I can remotely access that, save the configuration. Control-Shift-6-X on the keyboard, and bam, I'm back over to switch 3. Is that weird? It's an odd one. Control-Shift-6, let go, X, and you're back over. So I'm back on switch number 3, and I'm going to telnet one more place, telnet 192.168.1.3. Log in as Cisco, switch number 2, Cisco, if I could type it right, and save my configuration. I just verified that I can remotely access all the devices in Arizona. Now, once again, I'm going to go Control-Shift-6-X. I'm back over to switch 3. Now, you might be wondering, how many sessions can you suspend? I mean, like you just suspended like 3 different sessions. How do you get back to them? Oh, wow. I'm like, watch this. Everything. I'm like, just watch this. Show sessions. Look at that. I've got sessions to each one of these things. So if I notice the star is the most recent one. So if I wanted to jump back to the router, I just type 1. I'm back on the router. Control-Shift-6-X. I'm back on switch 3. Show sessions. Well, what if I wanted to get back to switch 2? Hit 2. back switch 1, switch 2. It's session number 2. You get it, right? Are you following this? I know I'm just kind of dropping stuff in there as we go beyond the base configuration. So good, though. Arizona is good. We're giving it a monster check. Check. Now let's jump over to Nevada and Florida. Same thing as before, but Nevada will be 192.168.2.0 and Florida will be 192.168.3.0. Because it's the same thing, and because this is an epically long video right now, I'm just going to do it on hyperspeed. You can watch as I go. There we go. I did a little bit out of order. I've got my Florida router 01 configured with 192.168.3.1. I'm going to ping 192.168.3.2, which is the switch. Oh, hang on. I don't know if you can see. Probably can't. A little far away. This switch is currently amber. Cisco switches, there we go. Cisco switches run something known as spanning tree protocol. A lot of industry standard switches do, which keep loops from happening automatically in your network. As you can see, the ping failed while I was waiting for spanning tree to come up, but now that it's green, I should be able to hit the up arrow, hit the enter key, and we have full success. So Arizona, Arizona, Nevada, and Florida, all fully configured with a base configuration. Now, you can see that took some time. It took a lot of time to get it, and that's why I want you to spend that time doing each one of them manually so you sync these commands deep within. We've now ensured all Cisco production network devices have a proper base configuration at each location. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.